Alright, if you look at this question, this is a question showed up on your Excel project 3. You have to finish this question in Excel. So this says a stock just paid a dividend of $2. So this dividend being just paid is something you do not receive if you buy the stock today, okay? Because the dividend is already paid out to someone else. So this dividend is dividend 0, okay? It's not included in price 0. The dividend is expected to grow at 8% for 3 years, then it will grow at 4% in perpetuity. So this is a different problem since the last ones, because we have two growth rates for the dividends. One lasts for 3 years and another lasts after the third year, okay, until perpetuity. So you still have a discount rate. You want to know the stock worth today. And in order to solve that problem, you need to use this different growth model, okay? And in this growth model, you have two growth rates, G1 and G2, and G1 lasted for a limited amount of years, for T years, and G2 lasts forever. And in your Excel project, I first show you one method, which is to generate infinite amount of dividends. Okay, I think I generated like 800 of dividends. That's a good representation of infinity. And then I crafted dividend 1, dividend 2, dividend 3 based on 8% growth rate, which is your G1 here. Okay, and then I get a dividend 4, which is your dividend T plus 1 here. Your T equals to 3 years. Okay, the first stage lasts for 3 years. During that 3 years, your growth rate is 8% G1. And then I generate a dividend 4, 5, 6 all the way. Okay, and then moving all the way down, so I get all the dividends and then discount them all and then add all the present value for the dividends. Okay, that's one way to do it. Or I can simply use the dividend growth model. That's a second way, or the easier way to do it, and you can do it without relying on the computer power to generate hundreds or thousands of dividends. Okay, so the steps here are first, you need to estimate future dividends in the foreseeable future. Basically, that's your first stage with the limited amount of years when G1 applies. Okay, so let me add when G1 applies. Okay, and then you can estimate the future stock price. Okay, so the future stock price is when the first stage ends, or the second stage start when first stage ends. Okay. And after the first stage ends, then the second stage begin. You will have a perpetuity case. So that's basically you can use a constant growth model. Okay, and then you sum the present values for the dividends in first stage and the future stock price. Okay, when first stage end. Okay. All right. So if you map out all the cash flows, so from 0 to 1, you have a dividend 1 received to you, and then you have a dividend 2, okay, which is dividend 0 times 1 plus G2, and so on and so forth, and you reach the T year, year T, okay. And then your dividend will start grow with the second growth rate. So this is your dividend T, okay, which is your T dividend 0 times 1 plus G1 to the T, okay. And then if you rely on the pure mathematical way, that's the formula we're gonna use, okay. And you're gonna add them up. So I'm not really recommending you to do this. It's provided by the textbook, and I think that's a quite a tedious process to solve the price. Instead, I would recommend you to do this work. Okay, so you use the two-stage growth model, and then you solve the dividends for the first several years until the first stage ends, and then you add one more dividends, okay, which is the dividend 4. That's 1 year after the first stage of 3 years. Okay, you solve for dividend 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then you use dividend 4. You solve for price 3. Okay, you solve for price 3, and then you would have this cash flows 1, 2, 3 okay, as the holding period cash flow you receive. Okay, so you receive a dividend 1, dividend 2 in the third year. Not only you receive dividend 3, but also you receive a price 3. Okay, and then you discount each of these cash flows to present value, and then you add them up to get the price 0. In this particular case, dividend growth rate 1 is 0% for the first 3 years, so that's an easier job. And in your exam or assignments, you may look at a non-zero dividend growth rate. Okay. So that's the question you had for the Excel project 3. Question number 1. So the dividend 0 is $2. And the first growth rate is 8%, lasts for 3 years. Then the second growth rate is 4%, lasts forever. The discount rate is 12%. This is the question I brought up at the beginning of this video. And this is the formula you can use, but I don't recommend you. I just put it here to scare you, so you guys will follow this method, hopefully. So what you do here is you get a dividend 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do you need to stop at dividend 4? You do not stop at dividend 3, you do not stop at dividend 5 or 6, you stop at dividend 4. Because period 4 is the year, 1 year after the first stage ends. Okay, so your first stage lasts for 3 years, so that's why you need to get dividend 4. As I previously mentioned in the last video, I mentioned you need to have dividend 4 to get price 3. Okay, so we need to have the cash flows for the first stage in year 1, year 2, and year 3. And in year 3, not only you get a dividend 3, but also you need to get a price 3. And in order to solve for price 3, you need to have a dividend 4. That's why we need dividend 4 calculated at the beginning. Okay, and then after you get dividend 4, you can use dividend 4 to get price 3. Alright, so dividend 4 is 2.62 divided by 12% minus 4% growth rate, so that's 8%, so that's your price 3, 32.75. Then you put a 32.75 to the cash flows, so cash flow 1 is a 2.16, that's from a $2 dividend 0 times 1 plus 8% growth rate, number 1. Okay, and the dividend 2 is 2.33. That comes from $2 dividend 0 times 1 plus 8%, which is the first growth rate, raised to the power of 2. And this is 2.52 is your dividend 3. Okay, so you get the present value for all of these dividends, and you can use net present value formula to do it. You can either do it in Excel or you can do it in your calculator. So if you do it in a calculator, okay, so this is something you need to type in your screen. So this is what showed up on your calculator after you select the NPV formula. So the first thing you should put is the required return, in this case at 12%. Okay, you see the discount rate is 12%. And then you put a cash flow 0. Although the dividend today is $2, but you do not receive that dividend. So for your holding period of the stock, when you buy the stock at the price 0, you do not get any cash flow received today. Okay, so your cash flow 0 is 0, and then separate by comma, and then you need to get the brace sign. All right, get the brace sign. And then you need to put a cash flow 1, 2, 3. The first year's cash flow is 2.16. The second year's cash flow is 2.33. And then the third year's cash flow is actually a combination of a dividend 3 and a price 3. So that's 2.52 plus the price 3, 32.75. Okay, and then you close the parentheses, and then you close the brace. The thing is, it's okay to hit enter like this. Okay, just a little tip for you. So it's okay to be lazy. If you do not put a counter brace, counter parentheses, it's okay. You just hit enter, and then the calculator will just automatically generate the result for you. It should be 28.89. Okay, so I'm not going to show you how to use your calculator to do this NPV, because I have showed you multiple times in chapter 5. You can just check the process over there to get an NPV function of your calculator. Okay, and to solve this question, I also showed you how to do it in Excel. Either generate 800 or infinite amount of dividends, or use this method, solve for dividend 1, 2, 3, 4, and press 3, and then to get the price 0.